what are your first initial thoughts on what this team is going to look like for next year?
I think that it's so funny what their ownership did, like last year or like whenever they re-signed or gave Jaylen Brown the contract extension, everybody else on this team, like just those big contracts, because that ownership knew that they were going to sell off the team, so they went all in on giving everybody big contracts, knowing that they wouldn't be able to pay everybody in the future, or this like the future ownership wouldn't be able to. So they have a bunch of guys making probably more than they should be making, and it's just it's just unsustainable at this point. This is a championship team, and if Jason Tatum goes down, I think that they probably still lose that series because if Jason Tatum doesn't go down, because of the fact that they were like on the ropes and probably already going to go down 3-1. So who knows what happens in that series? I like want to give all the props to the Knicks for winning that series, but man, this Celtics team is going to look drastically different. We've got the Shams reports. If you just look at the salaries that each of these guys are making, like Jaylen Brown makes nearly $50 million a year. Jrue Holiday makes $30 million a year. Obviously, Jason Tatum makes close to $35 million a year, and he is going to be up for a contract extension within the near future, within the next 2 years. I want to say Derek White is making $20 million a year, so you have 4 players making at least $20 million a year, 3 of them making over $30 million a year, and then like somebody's going to be on the move. So this team is just going to look completely different over the next couple of years. And then I didn't even have Kristaps Porzingis' number. No, you have 5. 1, 2. Let me count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 5 players making at least $20 million a year, and 4 of them making closer to $30 million a year. So this Knicks team, or this Celtics team, is going to look drastically different as we approach this offseason, and we'll see how it all shapes up. I think that at least Kristaps and Jrue Holiday will be in talks, if not Jaylen Brown as well.
Yeah, the Jaylen Brown thing is really interesting because he was talked about for all of those years as a potential player to be traded. I think his number is just simply too high, like his contract, and for what teams feel like they're getting back, which is a true number 2. I don't think that he is going to be dealt. And I think for the Celtics, they're going to want, through this entire retooling process, some sort of continuity. Now, I don't know what's going on with Kristaps Porzingis right now, but if they can get off of that, that will probably help them in the long run. You may have seen like the best or highest basketball that we have seen from him so far in his career, or we're going to see with his playoff run last year. And then, yeah, Jrue Holiday, older aging guard. Maybe they want to move off of him and try to get a little bit younger in that aspect. I think we're going to start to see a lot of people criticize the new collective bargaining agreement too. There's already been people who have been talking about it. And it's one of those things where, yes, the Celtics feel like they're overpowered and they had just this beast of a team. And you're right. The former ownership went all in, got that championship, raised the value of the franchise and then sold. But it still feels like this team is going to be salary cap strapped to the point of like you almost will feel bad for them and the moves that they have to make. I think it's kind of a shame to see this team kind of dissolve and in this way. Obviously, they would have had next year with Jason Tatum. I think they would have just completely ran everything back. But now it seems like looking ahead past next season, they're going to have to make some tough decisions a lot earlier than they probably would have.
Yeah, and if you look at guys like Kristaps Porzingis, I think that he's one of the names that like probably has to be moved in all of this, making nearly $30 million a year. And then you have a guy like Luke Cornett stepping up in his place and getting 7 blocks in the first game that he played significant minutes in. And then just in general, obviously he's not as athletic or can't stretch the floor as much as him. But in general, if you have a guy that's making $28 million less than him and can provide you anywhere close to the production, I think that you can take that. Obviously, it's a much smaller sample size, but I think that the whole process around this is probably building around your true star player, who is Jason Tatum. Like, obviously, we don't know, like, how he's going to look after his injury, but assuming he can get back to what he is at his core, which can be a number 1 on a championship team. He wasn't the finals MVP, but he was the best player on that team for like the majority of the season, if not all of the season besides the finals. So I think that he's probably the piece that is immovable in all of this. But and then I think that you made a great point about the Jaylen Brown thing. It's just going to be tough to move him because he's making nearly $40 million a year. And that is something that you pay your number 1 player, if that. And he is, like, at best a true number 2 who can be a playoff riser and somebody that can step up in the playoffs. But I just during the course of an NBA season, like, he's not going to be the best player on the best team in the NBA. and he's making $40 million. So it's going to be tough to move him, but if possible, I think that's something that ownership's going to want to do.
Yeah, I don't know who exactly would be buyers for Jaylen Brown. I think that's probably the issue too, just based off of how they're trying to build their teams, who exactly would be all that interested in his services. And, a name that we haven't mentioned is Peyton Pritchard here too, where he's getting paid not a lot of money whatsoever. He's on a very valuable contract for the Celtics. That is a player that they would also probably want to keep here in the near future and try to, like I said earlier, keep some of that continuity for when Jason Tatum does return. I mean, they certainly don't want to completely give up on what's going on right now. I think their status or the stock right now is down, but I think it's inevitable that if you keep those two guys, still have Peyton Pritchard, and you can retool in a smart way, maybe potentially have a couple draft picks that hit, that this team can be back. It's not unreasonable to think that in a couple of years at a very similar spot that they were in right now, but they're gonna have some big questions to answer.